Now that November is over, I can't wait to get back into the office. Oh look, even the Christmas tree is up. What have they done to Santa? What a fucking nightmare. Welcome back to another video. I'm MaryTCG and this is 10 Dawn Testing. And today we're going to be covering a leader that probably excites me the most out of all 7 leaders that are coming out next set, which is Blue Yellow Boa. This deck is honestly a lot of fun to play and it's like the second coming of Yellow Katakuri. So without further ado, presenting Boa.
What I want to look at is Boa, Robin, and fucking Carrot fucking having a twerk off with their feet in fucking peanut butter.
And this is the list we're going to be playing today, stolen straight from the winner of a previous Japanese flagship. So, let's go through the card by card. Boa is a blue-yellow leader with 4 life. When on your opponent's turn, when you play a character, draw a card. This is mainly achieved through the trigger mechanic. And the second ability is where this leader truly shines. Dawn times 1, when your Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirates type character would be KO'd by your opponent's effect, your opponent has to add the top card of their life into their hand. This leader really punishes your opponent for controlling the board, while also punishing them hard for swinging into your life through the foremost triggers. Now, let's get to the deck. We're going to be playing 4 Sengoku searchers from OP07, finding ourselves any warlord. Mainly, our main targets would be the Boa Hancocks and Bartholomew Kumas, along with Perfume Femur and You Frightened Me. We're going to be playing 2 copies of the Great Equalizer Charlotte Pudding, 4 copies of this Boa Hancock from ST17 to stack our deck and gain ourselves a Rested Dawn, 4 copies of Kozuki Hiyori as a 2k that can stack a character into our life. We're going to be playing 4 copies of Grandma Nyan just as extra copies of Kozuki Hiyori. However, this is in fact a 1k, but it does come with a trigger to stack our life, making this deck a lot more consistent otherwise. And we're going to be playing 4 copies of Ran. This card gains us a Rested Dawn every single turn. We're going to be playing 4 copies of the Nami from EBO3. This card is very strong, however, we in the West are not getting this before OP14, but by the time the first competitive event rolls around, we will have this card in our arsenal. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Satori as another trigger, that's a 2k. We're going to be on 4 copies of Bartholomew Kuma as a heal one, and when they kill it, you heal another one. We're going to be playing 4 copies of the Gorgon Sisters. This card is probably the best trigger in our deck, as it does gain us 3 or 4 extra dawns every single turn, and it's a 2k. When you're playing this out from your trigger, you're very happy, but when you play it out from your hand, you're not the happiest person in the world. But it's also not that bad. We're going to be playing 4 copies of Shakuyaku for some filter. We're going to be playing 4 copies of the OP14 9 cost Boa Hancock as the 10 cost Charlotte Linen for the deck. I heal 1 and you put 1 to hand. That also comes with a trigger. Insane. And to round it off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Perfume Female and 4 copies of You Frightened Me. Let's get to the games and let's see how we do. For our first game of the day here, we're going to be playing against Jinbe. We win the dice roll, pick to go second, finding ourselves a keep as we see Sengoku plus Hiyori. Our opponent starts with an Arlong, finding himself a Gum Gum Red Rock. We play our Sengoku and pass with a Dawn on our leader. No real reason there. Probably should have left the Dawn up for the event to protect the swing, but our opponent swings 5. We take, we find a Rin. And trigger, draw 1. Our opponent plays Kurobi, leader effect, and swings 5 again. And we're just going to start with a 5k at the Kurobi. He lets it die, draw 1. We look at our top 3 with the Boa Hancock, 1 on the leader. It's not great. We send to the bottom. 7k at going at his leader. He does find the take. Our opponent now is on 5 Dawn. A lot of strong plays for Jinbe on this turn, but that deck is sometimes breaky. Our opponent starts with a 5. We're going to take the free block, 5 again. We're just going to go ahead and take trigger. We find ourselves a Rin, and he plays out a 2k. We start off our turn by playing out a Hancock, checking our top 3, a lot of bricks, so we're just going to go ahead and send that to the bottom again, and we're just going to try to clear board as we tempo him out. Our hand is very, very bricky, double 2k, triple Boa, and double event. The event is a bit of a brick, but we are able to leave a Dawn up to punish in case he does play into the event this turn, as we're on 2 life or less. And passing back, our opponent is on 7 Dawn. he does decide to Gum Red Rock down our blocker rather than play out something like the Fisher Tiger, and he leader effects, discarding 2, swing double 7s at us. The first 7 we're going to take, and the second 8 we think, and we're going to take as we find a trigger again, but this one allows us to filter our hand. And we're just going to go ahead and clear board since we do have the Bartholomew Kuma in our hand to heal back up. And so we start with a Sengoku into a Bartholomew Kuma that we find, and double Rin ability bringing us up to 7 with 2 rested on. We swing 7 and we go 5 after. Not quite sure why we did that, but bad ordering. This game looks just about 1 no matter what, so it should be fine. Passing back to our opponent, he is on 8 Dawn. He red rocks our blocker again, and play out the 1 cost Chew on play, drawing himself a card. And leader effect going us to 7. We're just going to 10 mom and we're just going to hit it all lead, and this should be game on board. For our second game of the day here, we're going to be playing against Emu, the beateth of last format. We do win the dice roll, so we are going to go second. Hopefully that Sengoku finds us a 4-drop, but we do not, so we find a Kuma instead. We do have the Granny to start our life on that turn, so no big deal at all. And our opponent swings 5. We don't have a trigger, unfortunately, but our turn we're going to start with a 7, play Granny Neon, and we find the Boa and we stack a trigger to the top. This matchup should be pretty favoured for us as he cannot clear our board, and we have unblockable Big Moms with Perfume Femur and Pudding. So let's see how this goes. Our opponent did not swing to play around our Granny Neon, which is very understandable, and so we just play out the Boa, swing 7. And our opponent swings 6. We're going to go ahead and use the 1 cost event, not knowing that we need to be on 2 life, but neg 1, but what can you do? We do go ahead and trigger the Gorgon Sisters, and our opponent decides to Mars away our Hancock anyway, taking a life to hand, and 6 lead, we're going to find the counter. Our turn now, we're going to go ahead and play the Kuma, ditch 1, heal 1, and we're going to use the Sengoku, finding ourselves another Kuma. No effect on the Gorgon Sisters as we don't actually have 3 to reveal, which is a little unfortunate, but our opponent's going to swing in where he's going to take another life, and he is in danger right now. Our opponent swings 5 at us, we're going to counter after finding a trigger off the Shakuyaku. Our turn, we're just going to play the 9 cost Bogon Curve while being able to leave a down up for our leader, so we just go 6. And next turn, since we don't actually have the Femur, we need to find it off the Sengoku, but we do have a Pudding. Our opponent swings everything at us and then plays out the 10-drop like usual. And we're looking at a lot of dead cards in our hand, like the double Namis and the Bartholomew Kuma, as we do need to find game soon. Hopefully the Sengoku finds us a Femur. It does. We're going to go ahead and play Pudding unblockable on the 9 cost Boa, and we're just going to go 15, and hopefully he doesn't have it. For our third game of the day here, we win the dice roll against Dracule Mihawk. We do pick to go second, mulliging ourselves into no 4 cost Boa. His deck is a going first deck, but our curve is just that much better. We start off with a Sengoku, finding ourselves a Boa Hancock, 1 on the leader, and we're going to pass. And our opponent plays like Kid Killer, finding himself a Supernova in Basil Hawkins 2K, which is interesting. Decided not to swing to play around our triggers. And we just start with a Boa, and we're going to leave it to the top of our deck and swing 6 at him. Not quite sure if the starving strategy really works for Dracule Mihawk against Boa, but I guess we will see. Our opponent plays out the Tachigi leader effect, resting the Kid Killer, restanding Dawn, and swing 6 at us. We're going to trigger out the Gorgon Sisters, the best trigger in our deck. Passing back to us, we're going to play out Akuma, heal 1. We're going to use Gorgon Sisters effect, revealing 3 Amazon Lily cards and gaining 4 rested Dawn, which is just absolutely insane. We're going to start with a 6k lead, and of course we're going to pop the Kid Killer, and then 6k again with the Gorgon Sister, and then 7 with the Boa Hancock. And we pass back to our opponent. Our opponent's on 7 Dawn, and he goes 5k lead, 6k lead, and we're going to go ahead and trigger again out the Shakuyaku. He plays out the Shanks, and now our whole board is minus 1000 power during our turn. That's not that big of a deal, as our Gorgon Sisters is just going to give us all that power Dom back for free anyway. We play out a second Kuma, healing back to 4 life, and we're going to use the effect of the Gorgon Sisters, gaining ourselves a whole 6 extra Dawn, and we're just going to swing a bunch of 5s And the Electric Luna here kind of hurts, but it's fine. We're going to go hopefully bring him down to 0. He counters 5 cards in hand, 1 life. The game is looking really good for us. Our opponent swings a 9 out of Gorgons as we let it die, and he has to take his life into his hand. And the game is looking all but wrapped up right about now. Our opponent ponders for a moment, tapping 2 Dawn for the effect of the Smoker and going 8k to our 5k Shakuyaku. We are just going to let it die. He plays out the 5 cost Bonnie blocker, draw 2, trash 1, restand 1, and he goes ahead and play Perona, finding himself a Law and Beppo, so he can go 7k next turn. And leader effect, going to arrest the Perona, restanding 3 Dawn. He's going to go 7k to our leader. We're going to take no trigger, and we're just going to swing out our board here. Probably can find lethal by math, but just in case he is playing some weird cards, we're just going to go a bunch of 6s at him, and that's game. For our last and final game of the day, we win the dice roll against Gecko Moria. We mulligan, finding ourselves a Sengoku, finding ourselves a 2k in Gorgon Sisters, triple Gorgon in hand, which means we're not expected to trigger one this game. Passing to our opponent with 1 Dot on the leader, our opponent swings 5. We're going to go ahead and take no trigger. Unfortunately, he plays out Absalom, which on KO looks at top 3. We play out the Boa, leaving it on top. 1 rested down to our leader, swings 6 lead. And he does, in fact, find a trigger here in Sindri, but because he has nothing in trash, he does not get to play out anything. And we pass back to our opponent. Our opponent starts with a 6k lead, which we're just going to go ahead and 2k counter, leader effect, going to pop it, and play out a Perona here, making our Boa cannot attack. We start with a 5k lead, which he's going to counter. We play Kuma, discarding a brick out of our hands to heal 1, healing ourselves into a trigger, which is the Ring that we stacked off the Hancock. Swing 7, we're going to take and just play out the Ring. And he's going to use leader effect, popping the Perona, giving everything plus 1k, and swing 8 at us. We're going to take again, finding ourselves a Nami, and we're just going to go ahead and play that Nami. And to burn a life, we're going to start with a 7, and we're going to go 7 again. He triggers out a Absalom, which plays a Perona, making our Boa can attack. We're going to play Sengoku, finding ourselves a second Kuma, pass with 2 Dawn open since we don't get to swing with the Hancock. He is on 0 life now, so it is very good news for us. He swings 5 with the Perona, leader effect pop it, swings 6 on 6. We're going to go ahead at 1k. Plays out the 8 cost Gecko Moria, which can play out or heal. He heals into a Absalom, which can play out a character rested on KO. We're just going to go ahead and not want to deal with that trigger and play out our Hancock, and we're just going to swing our whole board into his leader, and hopefully that will be game. And wow, was that a little disgusting to watch. First life is always a trigger for some reason, and what a fun deck, right? As usual, we're going to go through the pros and cons. 1, this deck is a lot of fun to play. If you're someone who really enjoyed playing Yellow Katakuri back in the day, you'll really enjoy this. This feels like Yellow Katakuri, but a lot more consistent with a lot more triggers, and just a lot more powerful in general. 2, this deck has a pretty good meta spread, in the sense that a lot of decks want to control your board, but cannot. Being able to play 4 cost Pudding and Perfume Femur in the same deck is just super insane. 3, this deck can play very aggressively and very defensively depending on what you need. Being able to heal and trash life makes it so you can have a slower game plan, or you can have a very aggressive one. When you draw Pudding plus Perfume Femur, you can play very, very aggressively to try to push your opponent down to 0 and kill them within 1 turn. However, if you do need to pivot, you can play out something like the 4 cost Boa Hancock, just to stall another turn, as you can heal a trigger into life with the Bartholomew Kuma in the same turn for 10 Dawn. And whenever you leave Dawn up before this You'll Frighten Me event, your opponent will be very, very scared. Even when you don't have it in hand, they'll be playing around it so you can stall another turn. And now for the cons. 1, when you don't actually trigger a body off your first life, you feel like you're super far behind, which is why cards like Kozuki, Hiyori, and Granny Neon really, really helps out the deck. 2, there's not a lot of creative lines of plays within the deck. This, compared to another trigger deck from this set, which is the Black-Yellow Gecko Moria, which can play a lot more creatively in comparison to our deck. 3, This deck building has some problems. I find that this one cost event is only really good for the trigger. I never really get to resolve its effect, and the Satori is just feels super unnecessary. But that's really this build's fault rather than the leader itself. With some fine tuning, I think this deck could be a great meta contender. Once again, thank you all for watching all the way to the end. If you've watched all the way to the end, please leave a comment, consider liking and subscribing. Sorry if I do sound a little different this video, I'm a little under the weather right now. But if you have any leaders you would like me to cover in the future, please let me know and we'll maybe cover it. Thank you for watching and bye bye.